Hello, my name is Pratik Vaidya, and today I want to tell you about breaking 3 myths of choice and how it changed my life forever. If you relate it and reflect it, it may change yours too. So I cut back on myself at when I was 20 years old. I was the kind of student who looked good on paper but not in person. I loved computers. I was fascinated by technology. I joined a technical course and I was doing very well in software, networking, and all. My academics were also very strong. But there was one problem. I was very shy and I used to stammer. Not the cute, nervous kind, but the kind that can shake your confidence, the kind that make your name sometimes feel awkward and difficult in some days. And then came interviews, not one or two, but maybe 26 or 27, one after another. Maybe I just lost the count because after a point of rejections and rejections, it was very, very difficult for me to just continue and remember those. The strange part was I was getting shortlisted. Companies would look at my mark sheets, would look at my credentials, and they would call me in for the interview. But the moment they asked me a question, I used to shiver. The body would betray me. Sometimes my voice would come out soft and squeaky. Sometimes only my lips would move, but no words would come out. And when they came, I used to stammer. I could see in their eyes the shift from interest to discomfort and to polite ending, I'm sorry, you're not shortlisted. And every time I walked out, I told myself the same thing. Today, next time I'll speak. Next time I'll not freeze. Next time I'll not let that fear decide my future. I know the first fight of my life nobody would see. At home, my father told me, he kept it very simple. Well, if you're not getting a job, don't worry, join my outfit. Just come and help. It was very practical, right? I mean, it was very caring, and that was a door. But inside me, there was another door. I wanted to do something in tech. I wanted to build something. I wanted to really prove myself to the world. I didn't want to quit before I even begin. That was the first real encounter of the idea of choice. Not choice like options from the menu in the restaurant, but choice like a test of identity. So I started working on myself, like as if it's a project. I practiced in front of mirror. I watched my expressions. I slowed down my words. I rehearsed every answer as if it was not like a rehearsed lines, but actually sounded like me, myself. It was not dramatic. It was daily, quiet, sometimes embarrassing, often frustrating, but consistent. And somewhere in this whole grind, the stammer reduced. My confidence showed up. And then, of 10 to 12 months of the whole practice, whatever those, after all those rejections, I landed a job at one of the big four in 98, 99. I still remember the feeling, not just a relief, but like a vindication. Because that's what changed was not the market. What changed was my decision not to surrender. One of the books, very famous book by Viktor Frankl, which is Man's Search for Meaning, he says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And that space, it's our power to choose our response. This line stayed with me. It's not philosophy, it's very practical. You cannot control every situation. You cannot control your response. And your response, repeated daily, becomes your life. And that is the first myth I want to break today. I do not have a choice. I do not have a choice because I have to pay EMI. I do not have a choice because the market is bad. I do not have a choice. This is how things work here, right? Most of the time, it is not absence of options. It is a fear of what it will cost you to choose differently. And at 21, I could have taken the easier route. Join my father, play safe, just stop fighting interviews. That is what it is. I did not do that. But I wanted my path badly. I wanted a tech badly. I wanted to prove myself, right? I was ready to pay the price of effort, discomfort, self-work, and reputation. Choice, I realized, is just not what you pick. Choice is how much you're willing to persist and persist before life agrees with you. And for the moment, let me make it bigger than me. Many people know Michael Jordan, or say any sports personality, say Virat Kohli. People just remember the trophies and milestones. People remember highlights. But what they really talk about is the simple truth behind the excellence. It is a choice. The choice to train when nobody's clapping. The choice to come back from the failure. The choice to keep on showing when motivation disappears. And that's what the real thing is. The choice is, it is not what I do not have, the choice which hides. It is what hides the fact is that effort is a choice. Consistency is a choice. Courage, especially quiet courage, is a choice. And for the next few years, I worked in different companies. About 5 years in corporate world, I learned structure, pace, people, professionalism. And then life came full circle because one day I got another call from my home. My father needed help. He was running a small consultancy firm and 8, maybe 10 employees. One aging computer, files, registers, papers everywhere. Data used to come by fax. It was the exact opposite of the corporate world I knew. And just like that, I was standing between the two doors. Door one, a stable career, a steady salary, and probably what everyone would call a cushy life. And door two, a tiny family business drowning in complexity, chaos and crisis, doing a day-to-day kind of services and consulting work in what we call a VUCA world. And this time people say it directly. It is so practical. Don't be emotional. Just you do not have a choice. Think about your future. This sentence stayed me for years because that is what myths do. They just do not guide decisions. They quietly limit your imaginations. And here's what I learned. Choice is not one-time decision. Even after you choose a direction, life tests you the choice again and again. And that is what my second myth shows up. The belief that safest choice is the best choice. Do you think the safest choice is the right choice? We are trained this from childhood. Pick the safe subject, safe college, safe job, safe decision. And again, safety does matter. Security does matter. But safe can also be a respectable prison. When I stepped in my family business, nothing felt safe, by the way. I went from air-conditioned rooms, meeting rooms, to government corridors, to factory gates, from PowerPoint presentations to stacks of dusty files, from a structured processes to a world where everyone could have own version of Jugaad. I had a choice. I could do what everyone else was doing it. Keep it small, just manage, just survive. But that would have been the safe option, right? But there was something I could not ignore. In normal services, you do not see impact in a dramatic way. You see it in deadlines. One small mistake and then you go off. Your silences after you send important report and you just hope that everything is all okay. Everyone the same pressure cycle, same rigmarole of things, short timelines, notices, missing data, last minute changes. And the truth is, where you work perfectly, nobody claps, right? It just looks normal. But when you miss one detail, someone pays for it. And then with I realized something, that what I just face in my own organization, every company must be facing the same thing. The safe option was always to keep it small and survive to the month. But the real choice was just build a system that reduces dependency on memory and last minute firefighting. Maybe not just for me, but for many of the organizations. So I just started asking questions. Why are we still doing this on paper? Can we digitize it? Can we automate it? How do we move from reactive compliance to to more of proactive governance, where the systems give you just honest, more like audits. It sounded grand. It meant late nights, broken Excel sheets, confused staff, and rejected proposal. There were days when I wondered if I'd messed up my life, especially when I'd chosen the other door. I did not go back to my cushy life and all. But then something happened. I noticed a pattern. The safe choice protects your present, but the uncomfortable choice you make builds your future. And because safe is always not right, sometimes safe is simply familiar, sometimes safe is what you already know what to do. Growth begins when you choose how to build what you do not know how to do. See Steve Jobs, one of my inspiration. It's not about copying a personality, it's about a lesson. The lesson is simple. The work that changes your life rarely begins with a safe choice. Most of the people want comfort first and meaning later, but a few people choose meaning first. Comfort just becomes a byproduct. They choose clarity over convenience. They choose craft over shortcuts. And that is the difference between a safe life and significant life. And for me, this myth broke slowly, not in one heroic day, but in a small choice repeated after years to years. Let me take you to the last myth, which is, I am just a small one person. My choice do not matter. This myth sounds humble. It's actually an excuse. I am just a manager. I am just an employee. What my one vote would just count. I'm just a small business owner. Here is what I have seen most of the real workplaces. When one company just chooses real compliance over just compliance theatrics, one person gets right remuneration on time, one woman who has voiced up due to sexual harassment and because she believes someone will really listen, one nominee who did not go from pillar to post to just go and beg for his insurance claim. This story do not make headlines, but for the people, it is different. It is to be believing something very simple. I believe that for a purpose of life, human life cannot be only that I did well for myself. In our culture, we normally call it a swarth. For every decision, what is in it for me, what benefit I'm going to get, what is my comfort, what is my salary or remuneration, what is my designation, that's what we talk about. But when you work to build and improve systems, to do something for others, to reduce the friction, when you make things easier for people, especially if they never know you or never know your name, that is the righteous way to live. One of the famous personality, Verghese Kurian or Amul, which everyone knows about, or you say the best example, I would say Mahatma Gandhi. One person, one voice, one choice. A ripple that traveled just so far beyond his life for greater purpose and meaning. And that is how I think change begins. Just not as a moment, as a decision. Because every system is nothing but repeated choices. Policies are written by people, right? Processes are followed or broken by people. So change does not mean that who announces it. Change means that who is there to just stop saying it is small, start acting like our decision hardly matter, my vote will hardly matter and all. There are some things I cannot change overnight. There are some things you cannot control every outcome. But one thing which you can do is, say, better build systems. I can choose to simplify. I can choose to speak up. I can choose to stop complaining and just start creating. I can choose to see out of the box thinking. If you do not take anything else from my story, which I've talked about 3 myths, let me tell you this. I was not born confident. I used to stammer. I faced rejections. I had a practical door open, but I kept choosing my path until life met halfway. And years later, when another door opened, I again had to choose. Not between comfort and struggle, but between just about not life, about not me, but about the whole, to make things for others as well. Selfless and righteous. So I would just ask you 3 questions. When you say you do not have a choice, are you actually afraid of the cost? When you say choosing safety is just an autopilot, what if the discomfort which you do might be just start of the next chapter? And when you quietly decided that my choices or my decision doesn't matter, I'm very small, when in reality out there, someone is already living it with the consequence of what you decide today. Even if the Bhagavad Gita says, do your karma, don't worry about outcomes or consequences, make your choice, ensure that you take your next step, do the work, don't worry about consequences, fear, and even then your life will meet you halfway. Thank you very much.